Okay, and we are live. And welcome to the delicious recipe here on 30th of December, the 30th of December at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is on UPRN Talk Radio, Internet Radio, and we're out of New Orleans. And we are also playing on live video, Facebook, the UPRN site, on YouTube, the UFO Paranormal Radio, and also on extra UFO Extraterrestrials and Guides if you want to watch us live. So we got Twitch, uh, Twitter, and then anywhere else the audio is playing there as well. But if you guys have been listening along for years to come or just new to the stuff, uh, here we are. This is it. So this is going to be
What show
what did
is
I call?
this, though? You got to tell them what show it is.
That's right. I'm just getting right to that right now. So if you've seen the banner, whatever, it is Chocolate Guns and Strawberry Roses. It's a year in reviews to look back at what's happened over the past 2021 because we're one day away to the end of this year. And we'll just
Yeah, but
look
they're
at
listening
different
to the
things.
delicious recipe. You forgot to tell
Yes,
them that.
I'm
Oh,
getting
okay.
to that too.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm your host, Adele, and this is the delicious recipe. And I told you what the title of the show was, and I got Dawn here again. My wife upstairs. That's why we're in different rooms here because too much in the same room there we get too much feedback, and it gives us a chance that we're sort of different in sort of different ways and being a little festive. I'm wearing my Christmas shirt that I got and my super special hat. That's my toque. And other than that, there, Laura Lee, tell them about yourself and welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, and hi to everybody out there. Just remind you guys, if we don't see you on Facebook, we're not ignoring you. Sometimes the comments don't show up in the chat here on StreamYard. If you hop over to YouTube, over I believe it's UFO Paranormal Radio, we will see your comments for sure. And I'm Laura Lee Potvin. I'm the host of my own show, The Angel Rock, on Monday nights here on United Public Radio Network. I'm a Canadian psychic medium, crystal Reiki energy healer, Akashic Records practitioner, spiritual teacher, and mentor, and I'm also a registered nurse. And thank you for having me. We were
Yes,
going to do
so
this Monday night together, but we had
yeah,
crazy weather, so here we are.
yes, and I just found out there that my little iPhone 5 that I was using there before that was able to sort of watch content comments come by there. Uh, YouTube is updated now that any device that isn't susceptible to or doesn't have iOS 12 capabilities is back down to basics. So
We'll have to
this one's toast for me
You
for
have to
tonight.
charge the iPad then. The iPad will have
Yeah.
to update and
Oh well,
charge. And, mhm.
finding out all these things there as it goes on there. So last week it worked there, and now I'm gonna have to find whatever something different. So doing what it is. So we'll talk about some things that went on there. I want to talk about things that happened this year. We had the Jesse Smollett sentencing. We got the Ghislaine Maxwell sentencing. We have, excuse me, um, we have still the pandemic news and the changes that are going with that. But just before we went on there, I was listening or checking out something that was going on, and this just came in today, December 30th, from CTV News. And I just watched this. I wrote everything down there quickly. And if you remember, if you were listening back before here in Canada when the pandemic happened, one of the provinces, Quebec, did something really different from everyone else, and that's where they put in these curfews and they did a whole bunch of stuff like that. So now we're into this part here now during this pandemic going on, and everybody's heard the word Omicron. That's what the new thing is there, which is basically the common cold, but whatever you want to take from it, you can listen anywhere you want there, whatever you think about. It's less deadlier than any other strain that we've had, but similar symptoms to the cold. So this is what is happening in Quebec. This came out today on December 30th, and that is from the Premier Francoise Legault. Hopefully I said that properly. As of December 31st, 2021, 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew. Restaurants closed except for takeout and delivery. Social gathering halted except for caregivers and for people living alone. All indoor sports canceled. Places of worship closed except for funerals, maximum 25 people. Schools closed till January 17th. Daycare and school daycare open only to essential workers. Stores to be closed for the next 3 Sundays. And a push for everyone to get their third dose. So that just came out there today, and that's where Quebec is going to be there come 10 p.m., I guess, tomorrow, right before New Year's, when the big celebration is. And that's how Quebec's going to go and start off their 2022. What do you think about that for news?
Well, all I'm going to say is there are people within the truther community that I run across that seem to believe that this would be a good thing, or if martial law is declared, this would be a good thing. And that's just my opinion, but I'm sorry, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. I've been saying for a long time, the U.S., I believe, is the last stand, and everybody's standing down because people that follow certain people in the truther community keep hearing, grab your popcorn, sit back, the white hats have it all, and enjoy the show. Well, I'd say we're into the final acts of this show, and I don't see anything coming to fruition. The goalposts keep getting moved, and I'm not calling for violence, but there's a good doctor out there, Dr. Zeb Zelenko, who's come up with his Z protocol, which hasn't lost a patient yet using it. A lot of natural supplementation, and even he's calling for this civil disobedience, because this could have ended 2 years ago if the public had all stood up and said, no, thank you. No, thank you. And instead, we keep running into, you and I ourselves, and again, everybody's entitled to their opinion and their belief system. But when we stand up and we fall prey to fear, instead of using logic, common sense, you don't have to believe a word we say. Hey, Michelle from Australia, welcome. Standing up and together, whether you believe whether somebody should be jabbed or not jabbed or whatever it is, looking at the freedoms that we've lost. I mean, the more and more they keep telling us even that we're going to, if you just do this, this is what's going to happen. Well, you've just seen in Quebec. Quebec is kind of like a separate country unto itself in Canada here. They've tried to separate for a long time. My whole point is, guys, I don't think this is ever going to end unless, like I said, we agree to disagree, stand up as a human race and say no more. But because I know where we live, Del, and you deal with the public on a daily basis now, there are people that are so asleep. And again, I can understand if you don't have medical background, but there's enough information out there to stand up and say no. And then we go back even into history and look at history. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but my whole point is, am I surprised what happened in Quebec? Not at all. Last year, we found out Christmas Day as midnight, which was into what we call Boxing Day here over in, so the 26th. We went into the severest lockdown of the year last year for how many months? We were out for a couple weeks, and then we got into Easter and the same thing. So I don't think this is going to stop. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Yep. Well, that's exactly right. Is that the part about pushing the goalpost? That's been the sort of the buzz term that's been around there. It was supposed to be, if you look at the American when the race was going between Biden and Trump, and that Joe Biden had the plan, and he was going to kick this in the butt, and he was going to cure everybody, and this would all be over with quickly. And if you follow the last year while he's been sort of running things, you can see where the ball has been not even been played on the football field, so to say.
No, not even in the same universe.
Right. And that even goes into a lot of other parts that goes like just even going with America's stance with the rest of the world and other countries out there. You have the whole part they're going with Russia going on with the Ukraine thing. You have the Green Deal that they wanted to go in and they stopped these pipelines all through North America, but they gave money for pipelines over through Russia and Ukraine and all that other stuff, right? So you have to wonder, says, hey, it's okay for them to go use oil and gas, but over here we have to go and make everybody suffer and raise up all gas prices. It like I said before, whatever happens in the States trickles over and happens in Canada. We're affected financially by it. Our trade, we talked about this the last time you were on there about you had heard from one of the people that were in the parts with the shipping, receiving of or transport drivers and
Mhm.
doing cross-border travel
Well,
and
that's going to happen in the new year. So that's January 1st, January 2nd, that if you're not
mhm.
jobbed, you can't go cross-border transportation. And I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I know here in North America, that's how we get pretty well everything that's in the store here.
Yeah, I'm just finding out how to do these post things there. So there's one from Michelle Pack there.
Michelle, yeah, in Australia, she said goalposts keep changing here in Australia. Also, you're darn right they do, Michelle.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing we should add with things trickling. When something happens over in your neck of the woods, we usually see it happening here as well as in the UK. We all were at once under the Commonwealth and the Queen, and it seems like you guys that most unfortunately seem to be the testing arena, and then where we follow suit very quickly afterwards, it seems, doesn't it, Dal?
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole thing. Like I've talked about this before. There was the Five Eyes that were Canada, U.S., UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and now it's really sort of weird how this global um, situation has sort of worked in that, and then how people have sort of taken sort of splinter things. I know with JT and the Sunshine Band, him and his love for China and doing things there. There's new groups forming too as well between that used to be Five Eyes that are now something else, right? So there's a lot of international politics that are going on. And another news story there that was besides the one there that I just heard there from Quebec is there was the summit that was going on between this was dealing with Russia too as well, and a lot of people, a lot of other countries that are not part of whatever, say this little core group that we had there are looking at what this President Biden is going to do and how he's going to stand up and hold his own because if you look at a lot of the news media when he ever goes public, you have to wonder, like, is this octogenarian even able to form a sentence or even have anything going on? And there's been lots of discussion is that whoever's writing the speeches for him that he's reading off a teleprompter that he can barely do, is he who's actually making all the decisions? And then you have uh, KH there saying that, oh yeah, she stands behind all this stuff, these decisions, and she's the last person in the room. And these little things come up there on these because you'll see this all the time because people are wondering what's going to happen in the States, and they're wondering about. They're already looking at 2024 already, and who's going to be running for that.
Yeah, but let's
It's
back up there for
amazing.
a second with Trump. You know what? Like, Trump did a lot of good things for the U.S. I will give him that. I have some issues, though, when you start looking into Dr. David Martin, who is an independent, he looks at the patents that have gone through.
Hmm.
And he has pointed out that a lot of the stuff that is now happening has come into fruition from executive orders that were signed by Trump. And
Hmm.
my biggest problem, and I've had not a heated discussion, but discussions with many that I share information with, when you look at his speeches running around still claiming that he's responsible for Operation Warp Speed and he got the third jab and nobody's been injured and you need to all go out there and get it. Now he says he doesn't support mandates, which is a good thing, but he believes it's safe and it's wonderful. I got a problem with that because we've been saying this all along. Is he just another wing on the same bird, just a different
Right.
wing, if you will? And my concern is, like, is there nobody out there that is in a position of power that, because I think a lot of people are putting all their eggs in that basket. Well, I don't think he's the answer anymore either. I don't have a hate on for him, but my God, like, more and more, he's been on Epstein's plane. That was very quiet about who was on that plane during this
Hmm.
whole trial and what was going on. It was all kind of swept under the rug very quietly. But my whole point is, it's becoming more and more apparent that he was still part of this whole club as well. So
Oh yeah, for
what do
sure.
we do?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go the whole part that whether whatever the part with Obama, Trump to Biden now is you have to look at. You're right, and we've said this many times. Yeah, they are the two separate wings of the same bird that are going by there.
Mm-hmm.
The part that I have issues with, and I have it with even here in Canada as well, is that when government starts interfering into your life and mandating
Mm-hmm.
uh, medical things or even just the way you travel and anything like that, that is a question between you and your doctor or whatever doctor you want to pick. And you're have every right to go and get a second opinion on stuff is when
Mm-hmm.
the government says, hey, this is what it's going to be no matter what your doctor says. That's where the problem sort of lies there. And that's the thing that I think a lot of people are seeing and a lot of people are asking.
And
And that's where the question,
silencing your doctors that are
right?
speaking
Well,
up.
that's it too. Is that when it came into the, I watched a couple of different shows that sort of looked at both things about the whole Fauci and what he's done, and he has a very sordid past, which is very dealing with the kids beforehand, and that was dealing with testing on them,
Mm-hmm.
dealing with different stuff with the NIH and all that stuff. There's a huge there's lots of documentaries that are even out there that have even come out there pretty uh, recently. And when you have a person that is a non-elected official making mandates that go and take over everything, and they basically say, "Hey, my rule is law. I am the science. You have to believe me." and and then every other doctor that has a disagreeing opinion is either quieted, banned, or shunned, or made to look like they're ridiculous, right? So what does it say there? To sell us out must be great what they have an offer. Yes, exactly. That's
Mm-hmm.
uh that's it. Is that it all comes down to money. We've even said this before when it comes into the whole things with politics. When you're small politics, you worry about your area around you. When you get bigger and bigger, you're worrying about yourself and your family and where it's going to benefit you in the future. Correct?
Correct. It's just like I said, I think what's happening, and I'm seeing this more and more, is again, I guess we'll see what the future holds with this new year upon us. But a lot of people I'm seeing are starting to form almost like their own communities. You're almost having to with
Mm-hmm.
like-minded people to support yourselves because I don't know what else the answer is going to be, but and I'm not trying to fearmonger here, but when you start looking at some of these things that have been put out quarter by quarter, we have a leaked document from
Mm-hmm.
somebody in our government from October 10th, 2020, and it's broken down into quarters right up to the end of 2022. Uh, they followed it to the letter. So,
Mm-hmm.
and from what we've been hearing, these past 2 years are nothing compared to what's coming. So the only way this is going to end, and I think we need to really put this message out there, and I know other people have as well, but put our differences aside, guys. We need to stand up here. But this is the problem, right? And some of the things you talk about and I talk about on my shows, when we don't have history to look back on,
Mm-hmm.
truly what's happened with history, or to go back and keep looking at similarities in history, we're destined to keep repeating the same mistakes. Now this happened almost 80 years ago, different place, different group of people, and it wasn't globally. It happened in Germany. Well, we are looking at globally here, guys, and I know you said this many times on your show too, Del, that once the government starts making laws about something, they don't give it back to you. Once it's been taken away, you don't get it back. Same as the thing with mandates. When you look at mandates, mandates are not a law. Mandatory, and there was somebody did a great video out there talking about what mandate actually means. And it means when the participant agrees to participate in what's been proposed, basically. But instead, people are taking mandates as law. It's not a law. It hasn't
Mhm.
been changed, but unless you know your all your legalities and what have you, and you need to have a group to stand strong. I don't know what the answer is.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, I think there's another part there is that people are starting to see there now is that what is being reported is not necessarily the truth,
Absolutely. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
We had a discussion there over Christmas time is that this part when they were telling about hospitals being overrun, okay? And this is the part that I got from that I was listening to some, many different nurses and stuff like that, and parts that they were talking about is the hospital. Say they have 100 beds, they allocate 10 beds to pandemic. That was the current
Illness. Hmm.
pandemic. So 10 people fill up those beds. Now 11th comes in. Now they're overrun. Even though there's another 89 beds that are empty,
Empty. Hmm.
now they're saying the way that the news has spun it, because this is a big, huge magic trick that's going on here right now. This is all part of it, right? They're going, every hospital is overrun with all these things. We can't, but that wasn't the truth.
Mm-mm.
And that was the sort of thing, because there was a lot of people that were even going by, they've gone into hospitals and they were going like, it's half empty here. You have this wing and this whatever. And yeah, it wasn't that it was swamped where you had beds there lined up to the ceiling. So even with that, that's sort of a thing. We know numbers were conflated, that one illness matched with another one automatically meant this, that went to that side. So we were trying to be careful with saying certain words here,
Well,
anyways.
we
But
know we have to. The one thing that I thought was very clever that somebody put out there, though, they took the letters from Omicron and Delta, took each letter and did an anagram basically, and every letter when you use that spells out media control. I
mm,
don't think that was a coincidence.
well, we already know that propaganda and media go hand in hand, and that's the
Hmm.
way you control a population.
Hmm.
And being out in the public and that, and you hear different things, or I've heard even different things, and I was sort of I just listen. And now it's more important just to listen to people and see what they're saying, because you know what, I can. This is why I have this show where I get to sort of throw everything into the pot, everything there, and you see
Hmm.
how it tastes at the end. And you know what? They're all thoughts and stuff like that, and that's the whole part of it. Is maybe you come up with something, or you hear something here, and you go out and do your own research and go and maybe follow that trail and make your own recipe out of it. But the thing is, though, is that I hear such a differing opinion of people that are, I guess you would say, scared to death. This fear that's here, they believe that their government is their best friend, and whoever they've picked to be the medical leader of that is in thinking in their best interest. And we've put this before. I don't want to go and harp on this part there too long. Anyways, is that everybody's body's different. Everybody's body reacts to anything you put in it differently, and so one thing is not good for everybody. That's
Hmm.
maybe the point I wanted to make. What do you think about that?
No, I agree with you. And I've said it once, if I've said it 100 times practically between your shows I've been on, my own show, that I have great respect for people, including yourself, that say it. I say it as well, that please don't believe a word that we have to say. But if anything here resonates with you out there in the ethers, take a look for yourself. Go
Hmm.
research it for yourself, see what you find. But the thing is, what I think people aren't realizing that this, and again, there's enough information out there if you look. Do I believe something was released and something made people very ill? Yes. Do I believe that the flu has just dissipated? No. And again, I'm going to go back to Dr. David Martin. And the reason why is he has the receipts to back up every word he's saying. Basically, every piece of paperwork, every piece of whatever. I've looked on our own Canadian government website back as far as 2015. Some people claim to have gone back as far as 2013. I haven't seen it that far. But right on their own website, and this was, I haven't looked in the last couple of weeks, but it was there when I checked myself, not in just one place, numerous places. And this is our official government website. that somebody was calling for tenders for, I'll spell it, GRENADES. And you go through the list, the government put out basically tenders for contracts. So whoever had the best, I guess, proposal financially that makes those kind of devices. And the reason they were asking for this in 2015 was in response to, or it was Canada's response to, I'll say CV-19, but it was the whole word back in 2015. Now, folks, where, again, Del, you being ever the skeptic, you said somebody maybe could have hacked the website, maybe, possibly. I can't see them doing it in numerous spaces without somebody seeing it, but you never know. But that's also what I urge people to do. Take a look at your government websites when you've got time. Just go through them and see, especially with contract tenders and stuff like that. You may have an idea better where things are going. And again, all the stuff we're talking about, we're kind of reviewing, like you said, the year in review. But you know what? It's good to have information. I believe that information is empowering. I believe it gives you knowledge. It gives you the time to be able to look up for solutions to keep yourself and keep your family safe.
That's exactly true. Is that you can't go and ask yourself at the end when you're in a situation, go, how did I get here? When you haven't.
We're going to have a lot of people saying that at the end of all this when it all comes out.
And you've had people there. Well, you've had JT in the Sunshine Band says you never waste a good accident to change the world, right? And that's been said many times in many other governments that were involved with that. Klaus Schwab and that Great Reset part, and this whole Agenda 2030 stuff that's going on, and slowly boiling the frog to move the world population in a certain direction. But other things out of there, I don't want to keep. Well, I guess this is the biggest thing that's sort of been there. That's it's almost coming 2 years now, that we've been living through all these bad decisions that you could say by the people that were voted into power and the people that they put into power that were never voted in. So you have a sort of double whammy there, and you have people like, you can say, like Fauci. You can have it over here, Tam, that was actually on the WHO board for pandemic research that's out of Canada, that making all these things. And over in Canada is a lot different than the States. We have provinces, they have states, but they're all sort of similar. The population is totally different, 40 something million compared to 340 something million. But everything is sort of similar, but so different. And it's so unbelievable. But like we were saying there before, this is going to take up a lot of what everybody's been dealing with, because everybody, I fear.
I don't know. I think I lost your audio there, Del. Can you hear me? I don't know. I can't hear you. I don't know if it's you or it's me. I can't hear anything. Let me try unplugging this. Maybe it's me. Can you talk for a sec? Oh, can you talk for a sec? No sound. That's what I thought. Can you hear me, Michelle? Because Michelle said there's no audio on your end. Del, maybe your headphones went for a dump. You might have to grab another pair. I'll keep talking. Sorry about that. Yeah, it is him, eh? Yeah, I figured he's got Bluetooth. They probably died on him. You'll have to probably come grab a pair for me. So I'm going to read your comment here while he's straightening that out. Michelle, you said a lot here on Facebook, helping others to find jobs who won't follow the sheeple and support others who have followed and are now awake. Yeah, we're starting to see a few people around us personally that were really, they were right asleep. And now they're starting to realize, they're starting to ask some questions finally, because things aren't making sense finally to them. So we're going to have to see what happens here. And like I say, I'm not trying to be all gloom and doom here. because something's got to give. Nothing ever stays one way forever and ever and ever on this planet, right? There he is. I think he's back. Are you back?
Yes, my phone just oh, hold on there. My phone
Well, we
just
can.
shut right down.
Did it?
Yeah, that was
Oh,
weird.
they didn't like what we were
So now I've
talking
lost
about,
almost
Deli.
all volume.
They didn't like what we were talking about. And like I was just reading Michelle's comments while you were gone, and saying I'm not trying to bring all gloom and doom here, but something's got to give. I was just saying when you came back on, like nothing lasts forever on this planet. Whether hurricanes, thunderstorms,
Hmm.
bad times, good times, whatever it may be, something's got to give eventually, right?
Yep. Well, that's the one thing that me and you, we did, I think about 2 years ago, and we talked about this many times about prepping and being prepared,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to wintertime and that.
Mhm.
And I always found it was sort of interesting how people always sort of chastise preppers for prepping and that. And now you're
Mhm.
getting now people that are, as this 2 years is coming up
Mhm.
here with this pandemic, is that people are looking about maybe finding their own communities where they can be
Mhm.
safer. You look at in the States with Florida, hey, look at they never locked down like the rest of the country.
Mhm.
Texas the same way, and people are leaving lockdown states in I'm going to just use the U.S. there because that's the one that's been in the most news,
Mhm.
anyways, and people are leaving those and coming over to their states, and then they're saying the people that live there says don't bring your politics and your and your stuff to our place, to our backyard, right? Because it's not going to be
A lot
in
of
your
people
best
are
interest.
going. A lot of people are going to Mexico. You and I even said, like, well, Stell's stepson and my youngest son has
Hmm.
severe autism, so it's not like we can just pack him up and take him to Mexico. But
Hmm.
we said if it was just the two of us, right, Dolly, we probably would have done that. Just packed everything up and took off.
Yep. Well,
Hmm.
that was the thing. If the opportunity was afforded, was go somewhere that was sort of away from everybody else in a way.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's just that you know, uh, I lived in big cities before. Like when I was living in Toronto, and like I was here, and then I lived down in Toronto and stuff like that. And it's a great place. So there's a lot of things for you down there and that to go and do and stuff like that. But
But
I
you said
enjoy.
you never took advantage of it either. You just said this the other night.
I actually, right. I
Go ahead.
took more advantage of it when every time I went and visited. I went and
Hmm.
saw more stuff than when I was actually there because it would always be the thing is that, well, I can do that next week. I can do that next month, and you never ever get
Hmm.
around with it because you get busy with other stuff. So that up here is so much more. It is not a small town, but it is a fairly sizable town, and there's lots of things to do around here. I know people sort of there's things you don't get in other places, but you're close to everything. Well, most of Canada is within 150 miles of the U.S. border, anyway. So,
Hmm.
and you're only a couple of hours away from anything if you really wanted to travel to. Before, not anymore, uh, unless you got certain passes or you've been stabbed 3 or 4 times in the arm. But other than that, what time we got there? Okay, we still got time there. But yeah, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, preppers and that. How people just people are sort of just looking at the opportunity of picking up items, preparing ahead. That's been sort of a more of a thing that's going on is that they're looking at it when that ship there in the Suez Canal there turned sideways. They already said that that's going to affect shipping and production of goods for up to 2 years, and that's you've heard about that and stuff like that with stores not getting items and stuff like that because you do a lot of
I do all our
crafting stuff and looking for items and
I do
things will
most our
come in.
shopping though. I'm the one that does the shopping usually. And yeah, you're right. Like for example, with the crafting stuff. Now, Michelle, I forget what the name of yours is over there. The name's evades my brain, but it's very much like Michael's craft store here. And for example, I've never been able to get. I want to say it's not Boingos. It's I forget what it is. You guys have a crafting store over there. It's very similar to Michael's craft stores here. It has crafting for everything. Anyways, I've kept hearing on YouTube, the people going off at these hauls that they get from Michael's mystery boxes, they're called. I never ever got one. I happened to be in there what was it, Del, about 3 weeks ago. And
It says, oh, hold on. It says, when was that ship again? When was that again?
oh,
About that ship that was
that
in the.
was in the Suez Canal. That was about 3, 4 months ago when it was grounded for about 7 days, and it kind of shut off the major shipping lanes across the world through the Suez Canal.
Mhm.
So, anyways, my whole point of saying this is, um, I happened to be there one night about 3 weeks ago, and somebody was filling up these boxes, and they said, "Oh, they're for mystery boxes." And I said, "Well, when are you putting these out?" And they said, "Probably tomorrow." And I seen some of the stuff that was going in there. Now, we don't have Thanksgiving the same time as the U.S. We have Thanksgiving at the beginning of October usually. Okay, so this would have been right after American Thanksgiving, so probably beginning of December or so. And I happened to get these boxes. I could take as many as I wanted. They were huge, they were heavy. Two of them fell off actually, and something glass wise broke. Okay. Long story short, they were full of Canadian Thanksgiving things that had never come out in the first place. They'd gotten there a month and a half late. The boxes were $5 each. There was like over $300 worth of merchandise in each box. So people got some beautiful Christmas presents this year, and a couple of the candles broke because the boxes were so heavy they fell off and they were so huge. But my whole point is they didn't get anything for Christmas either. So I happened to go there on we call it Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. Here we have big sales, and a ton of Christmas stuff that had not come in was now coming out, and they were selling for 75% off. But when I was talking to the girl about these mystery boxes, she said, "We'll probably get all our Christmas stuff around Valentine's Day." And I'm finding it's not just craft stuff, like we're finding everything. Every holiday with the holiday stuff is sold out here on this neck of the woods. And I'm talking to people over in North America. I haven't talked to people over in Australia necessarily, or over in Europe or what have you. I haven't had a chance to ask people, but that's what's happening here. Now, if we have this problem with the truckers that we're going to be having, now I can't speak for other places, only for North America, but they were exempt from being jabbed, truckers from going across the US Canadian border. Well, that's been changed as of, I believe, January 1st, 2022. So there's a lot of truckers. There was a trucker out there that put out a video. That's what Del was talking about a couple of weeks ago when I was on here. I talked about that. He said even if 15% of truckers are affected, he said you have no idea what that will do to your everything in your stores. Everything. He said you thought toilet paper was bad. He said everything, food, clothing, medication, anything you can think of. Well, everything will be sold out in a couple days because if they can't get their loads across, and it's true, they're the real heroes, I think, of all of this because without them, none of us would have anything, right?
Yep, this is exactly right there. Sorry for taking off there for a second. I just had to try and find something.
Okay.
But this is this is the weird weird thing there. Well, you had since the changing of the U.S. president there and this push for green energy, and they got rid of a pipeline that was going through Canada to the U.S. and they stopped that. A lot of construction jobs, a lot of pipeline worker jobs, all that. And we said this earlier there about the U.S. investing in, or the Biden family investing into the stuff over in Russia there with pipeline work
Ukraine.
and that,
Hmm.
and then also with investment stuff that that family did with China as well.
Hmm.
So crippling the U.S. internally during a pandemic, during all this stuff there, it just doesn't make any sense. Now they want to go green, okay, and they believe that they can run the country on green energy, which and I've done so many shows on the problem with recycling, the problem with green energy, the amount of
Hmm.
power source, and the construction. And the biggest thing that nobody ever talks about is what do you do when the energy cells are used up? Where do they go?
Hmm.
The materials that make these green energy vehicles. Where does this stuff go into the recycling
Hmm.
scenario? Because a lot of that stuff is toxic and cannot be recycled.
And
So
massive.
yeah, so
Hmm.
there's so many things when these bill or these ideas come out. Because like I've said before on here is that I did go to school. I took went to college. I took environmental engineering, a little bit of electrical engineering in that. Did my ironworkers apprenticeship, went all through that. And so I've worked in construction, I've
Wow.
worked in many fields. And the thing is, though, is that nobody ever thinks about what do you do at the end when you've used it up?
What Michelle put in Australia, that's scary
Okay.
what she put.
AdBlue. Okay, sorry.
You have to read it for people.
Okay, AdBlue that they use in diesel is running short here in Australia. Biggest supplier is China, and now are not selling to other countries. No AdBlue, no trucks run.
And she
This
said
is
they run out in February.
okay. This is interesting. There is the part there is I watched a huge deal or a huge two-part expose that was run out of Australian news, and this is why I say it's important to get research and find stuff, find out what other countries are saying about your country, find out what's happening in
That's
other
where you find
countries.
out the truth is when you go to other countries. You
Right.
find out what's going on
But there
yours.
was a
Mhm.
big thing that was or issue that was happening with Australia and China, and Australia wasn't bending to China's rules or China's wants. So Australian wine production and a lot of their grains and stuff like that, there's produced farming stuff and wool. I think wool was another one, cotton, and China imposed huge tariffs or huge prices to ship in there anymore. So now it was sort of crippling to them, right? Now you guys stuck with all this stuff. What are you going to do with it? So a lot of these farmers and producers in Australia had to find other markets that did not deal with China because China would go and put uh, restrictions on these other countries. Well, you're still taking wine from that person that we're blocking from them. Okay, well, we're going to go and impose on you. See, this is the part about communism and dictatorship that people don't look at and they don't see what's going on. And this is a big deal. What's going on now is wondering about is the U.S. Leadership with Biden actually strong enough to stand up to other countries that are going to be testing the buttons and pushing things, right? When we look at it, but it's not just war. Trade is a big, huge factor, and trade impacts us a lot more than war really does. You got to think when you go to buy your loaf of bread and the wheat coming from somewhere in your country, wherever you might be around the world, is got taxes on and embargo fees or whatever, or shipping prices go up. You have that. Now, we I've talked about inflation before, and inflation is basically you can say that that is the end product of poor government officials spending money, fiat currency that they shouldn't have done in the first place, playing monopoly with your cash, and that's why your taxes go up. That's why your gas prices go up. That's why your cost of bacon goes up, and your eggs go up, and that's why they got rid of barter system a long time ago because they didn't want people to go and do inter intertwining or interchanging of stuff. And that's why we talked about before why prepper communities and other communities get together and start doing exchanges on
Mhm.
resources that they need and just bypass other things. But we're coming close to an end there, Laura.
We are. I'm going to read just Michelle's comment there. She
Okay.
said, we trade too much. So do we. Michelle, I found out very, very quickly. My moderator for one of my groups on Facebook here, she's in Sardinia, Italy. I had no idea that almost all their wheat comes from here in Canada. Like I said, I think the important part of all this with the end of this here is to really keep in mind, keep stock of sort of what happened over the last 2 years, especially the last year.
Mm-hmm.
I always say we got to focus on what we want to see, not what we don't want to see, because energy does play a big part in this. And everything is energy on this planet, including our thoughts, our words, our emotions. Okay, we got to, I think, pull together with like minded people. When you're having a tough day, surround yourself with people that I'm surrounded with a great group. I know a lot of people have good friends around that they can do this, even if it's online. You're having a bad day, there's people around you that will uplift you and remind you why we're doing what we're doing, putting one foot just in front of each other and going forward. Again, connecting with people that are like minded in your areas if you can, or even across your country. Okay, because those are the people that we're going to need to start standing up. People are starting to wake up.
Yep,
And
good point there, Laura. So why don't you tell them where they can check you out and
I
what's
will.
going on there
I
next
was
week?
just going to say this very quickly, Del. I will tell them where they can find me. All I was going to say is try to focus on what you want to see, not what you don't. Okay. You can find me on here on United Public Radio Network on Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know who I'm having on next Monday. Over the holidays, kind of took a little bit of a lapse, but you can
Right?
also find me on facebook.com/the Angel Rock. And thank you for having me, Deli.
Oh, no problem there. You're always a great guest to have on here, and we sort of talk about the similar things that are going on, like every show and stuff like that, because that is actually what is impacting us
Well,
the
people
most,
want to know about it too, Del. They
right?
do. People do.
So, so you've been listening to the delicious recipe here on UPRN, and I don't even know who I'm going to have on next week or whatever, but we'll see what happens after New Year's.
We'll see you
And
next year. And you
that's
guys,
right.
Happy New Year and hope you've had a good and happy holiday.
Yes, this is SOS. It doesn't work this way anywhere. Anyways, but so good night, and we'll see you in the new year, 2022.
See you next year. Much love and light, guys. Have a good one.
Oh, no, it's not going to do that. No, I can't end. You're going to have to end it,
I'll
Laura.
end it for you. Okay, everybody. See you next year.